The Watcher Beneath the Well, Part 3. The voice that waited. Daniel awoke with soil in his mouth. It was gritty, coppery. His lips bled where roots had crept inside during the night. He spat, coughing violently, and found himself lying not in bed, but on the wooden floor of the chapel. The pews were gone, and the altar was now just a mound of earth. The sun outside was frozen, hanging low and sickly yellow behind clouds that refused to move. His body ached with the weight of someone who had not slept, though his last memory was collapsing into dreams. Something had changed in Densmere. He staggered to his feet, the wooden boards creaking with each movement, though not in protest but in rhythm. A pulse, deep and slow, echoed under the floor, sensing with his breath. The Watcher was awake. In the streets, the villagers no longer spoke in riddles or prayers. They were gone. Doors swung open to empty houses. Candles burned down to nothing. Pyres had long turned to ash. A single trail of muddy footprints led from every threshold toward the well in the center of the square. Daniel followed them. He had stopped questioning his own sanity. The boundaries between sleep and waking were gone now, dissolved in a humid mist that blanketed the village like breath on a mirror. His steps grew heavier as he approached the well, which now hummed not mechanically, but like a throat clearing before a voice speaks. The rope and bucket were gone. Instead, carved into the stones around the rim, were names. Hundreds, thousands, some faded, others freshly etched. Near the bottom, in darker stone, was his. He remembered the woman with the veil, her voice, the mirror, the journal. They were all part of this place of the Watcher. They were fragments of stories told over and over until memory gave way to myth. And now the myth wanted to speak through him. His fingers trembled as he touched the stones. They were warm and slick as though alive. Beneath the surface, he heard murmurs, laughter, screams, whispers that shaped his name in accents not of this world. Daniel turned to leave, but the village had changed again. The sky was night now, but starless. The chapel stood behind him, but taller, blackened, its windows sealed by thick, flesh-like growths. Forest surrounding Densmere had withered to twisted silhouettes, clawing toward the sky like pleading hands. Bow in the center of the well, a ripple form a knot in water, but in air, a shimmer, a portal. He was not supposed to see what lay beyond, but he did. Inside the ripple, he saw a vast city not built of stone, but of bone and memory. Towers that screamed as they rose, streets paved with forgotten thoughts, and in the heart, a creature of impossible geometry. Not large, not loud, but present, watching, listening. It turned its attention to him. And Daniel wept. The ripple vanished, and the village returned to stillness. But something had passed through. Not a figure, not a shape, a presence. It clung to his skin, soaked into his bones, rooted behind his eyes. He tried to speak, but the words weren't his. He tried to run, but the ground would not let him. The townspeople returned at dusk, wordless, moving as one. They surrounded him, knelt, and waited. The veil woman approached. She spoke with a voice that vibrated the marrow of the world. "You heard it," she said. "Now you speak for it." Daniel screamed, but the sound never left his mouth, only silent. The kind that fills ancient tombs, oceans, or dead stars. The townsfolk placed their hands on the ground, and the soil moved like water. A hole opened where the well once stood. Daniel was lowered in, not by force, by ritual. He felt no fear, only certainty. As the earth closed above him, the last thing he saw was the night sky blinking with new star, in impossible patterns spiraling inward toward the watcher's gaze. And darkness, and then thought. He was awake, somewhere deep, yet fully aware. He was not alone. Around him, others, pulse streamers, kept in earth like seeds. Their stories whispered to one another through the soil, forming a choir of forgotten truths. He remembered everything. The whispers in the wood, the hands in the well, the voices in the water, the faces that wore his own. Above, in the village, someone new would arrive, curious, lost, drawn by the same echo that once called to him. The cycle would continue, but Daniel had become the voice. End.